Have you ever heard the joke about the ETF that walked into a bar? Neither have I, because ETFs are always too busy diversifying their portfolios to have time for a drink. Now you might be wondering, what on earth is an ETF? Well, let me enlighten you. ETFs, or exchange-traded funds, are a bit like that friend who's always on the go. You know, the one who's juggling multiple projects, taking up new hobbies, and still finds time to bake sourdough bread from scratch. Unlike regular stocks that can just lounge around, ETFs are constantly on the move. They're spreading their investments across different sectors, just like a busy bee flitting from flower to flower collecting nectar. So, if you think of investing as a garden, an ETF is like a diligent gardener, always making sure every corner is tended to. An ETF might not have time for a drink at a bar, but it will sure make time to make your investment portfolio bloom. Have you ever wondered why ETFs are so busy? Well, it's because they are the ultimate multitaskers of the investment world. Just like a circus juggler spinning plates on top of sticks, ETFs manage to keep a broad array of stocks, bonds, and other assets spinning all at once. Picture it like this. Imagine you're at a circus, and there's this incredible juggler on stage, right? He starts with one ball, then two, then three, and before you know it, he's juggling multiple balls all at once. That's what an ETF does, but swap out the balls for various types of investments. ETFs are the jugglers of the investment world, keeping a wide range of assets in the air all at once. As an investor, you hand your money to the juggler and they skillfully keep your investments rotating, constantly adjusting to keep everything balanced and in motion. What's more, just like a skilled juggler can add or remove balls from their act without dropping anything, ETFs can add or remove stocks, bonds, or other assets from their portfolio without destabilizing the whole operation. This flexibility allows ETFs to adapt to the ever-changing financial markets, ensuring they can always put on a good show for their audience, the investors. So if you're an investor, think of an ETF as your personal financial juggler. You give them a handful of cash, and they transform it into a dazzling display of diverse investments, all kept in perfect balance. And let's not forget, just as the juggler keeps all eyes on them, so does the ETF. With their constant movement and adaptation, they're a captivating sight in the world of finance. You might even say they're the star of the investment circus. Now, I know the world of finance can seem daunting, especially when you're trying to juggle multiple investments on your own. But remember, you don't have to be a skilled juggler to succeed in the investment world. You just need a good ETF, your personal investment juggler, ready to keep all your assets spinning. So if you ever feel overwhelmed by the thought of managing multiple investments, remember the ETF, the ultimate investment juggler. You know what they say, with great power comes great responsibility. And ETFs sure do have a lot of power in the investment world. They're like the superheroes of finance, swooping in to save the day with their unique attributes. First off, ETFs are the masters of disguise. They can take on the appearance of virtually any sector of the market, whether it's technology, healthcare, or even the gold industry. They adapt to the situation at hand, just like a superhero changing their costume to blend in. Imagine being able to become a tech guru, a healthcare expert, or a gold miner at a moment's notice. That's the power of ETFs. Not only that, but ETFs also have the power of diversification. They spread their investments across a wide range of assets, reducing the risk of a single bad apple spoiling the bunch. It's like having a superhero team where each member brings a unique set of skills to the table. If one falls, the others are there to pick up the slack. But perhaps the most impressive power of ETFs is their flexibility. ETFs can be bought or sold anytime during trading hours, giving investors the freedom to make decisions based on real-time market conditions. It's like having the power to stop time, reassess the situation, and make your move. And the best part? ETFs don't require a secret identity. They're transparent, disclosing their holdings on a daily basis. So while you may not know the real identity of your favorite masked vigilante, you'll always know what your ETF is up to. But remember, with great power comes great responsibility. ETFs offer a lot of benefits, but they also require careful management and a clear understanding of the market. Just like a superhero needs to know when to use their powers, an investor needs to know when to buy or sell an ETF. So, ETFs might not wear capes, but they sure do have some super investment powers. Like any superhero, ETFs also have their kryptonite. But don't worry, it's nothing too scary. You know, just like how Superman can't resist a good old chunk of kryptonite, or how Spider-Man seems to have an irrational fear of bug spray, ETFs also have their little quirks and weaknesses. But hey, even superheroes aren't perfect, right? So what's the ETF's kryptonite, you ask? Well, let's say it's a bit like a preset playlist at a party. You might love most of the songs, but there's always that one tune that you wish you could skip. ETFs work in a similar way. When you buy an ETF, you're buying a basket of different investments. The good news? You get a piece of all these different assets without having to buy each one individually. The not so great news? You don't really get to pick and choose what's in that basket. So you might end up with a few songs you're not too fond of. But hey, who's ever loved every single track on a playlist, right? Another slight hiccup with our superhero ETF could be the trading costs. While it's true that ETFs usually have lower expense ratios than mutual funds, they can still incur trading costs every time they are bought and sold. It's like ordering a pizza and finding out that the delivery charge wasn't included in the price. A bit annoying, but not a deal breaker. And let's not forget about liquidity. While most ETFs are as easy to trade as individual stocks, some aren't quite as liquid. It's a bit like trying to sell a ticket to a mime convention. There's a market for it, but it might take a little longer to find a buyer. So even though ETFs may have a few weak spots, they are still a force to be reckoned with in the investment universe. After all, even with their kryptonite, superheroes still manage to save the day, don't they? Well, there you have it, a hilarious journey through the world of ETFs. It's been a wild ride, hasn't it? We've seen ETFs juggle assets like a circus performer, work harder than a bee during pollen season, and show off their flexibility like a yoga master. So, let's take a moment to recap this comedic adventure. Remember, ETFs, or exchange-traded funds, are like the busy bees of the investment world. They're always buzzing around, collecting assets from different sectors, countries, and industries, and bringing them all together in one sweet, diversified honeypot. They're not picky eaters. They'll take anything from stocks, bonds, commodities, or real estate. In fact, if it's got a market value, chances are an ETF has got its eye on it. And let's not forget how they're like jugglers, always keeping multiple balls in the air. One minute they're in the tech sector, the next they're in healthcare, then they're in energy, then back to tech. It's enough to make your head spin, but that's what makes them so versatile. They allow investors to spread their risk across multiple sectors, rather than putting all their eggs in one basket, or in this case, all their bees in one hive. But like any superhero, ETFs aren't invincible. They have their kryptonite. They're vulnerable to market fluctuations just like any other investment. And while they offer diversification, they can't completely eliminate risk. But remember, with great power comes great responsibility. And a little bit of risk. But the best part about ETFs? They're flexible. They're traded on an exchange, just like stocks, which means you can buy and sell them throughout the day. So whether you're an early bird catching the worm or a night owl hunting for mice, ETFs are there for you. They're like the stars that never sleep, always twinkling in the investment sky. And let's not forget the fees. ETFs are like the discount store of the investment world. They offer the variety of a department store, but at bargain prices. They have lower expense ratios than mutual funds, which means more money in your pocket, or in this case, more honey in your pot. So, next time you think about investing, remember the ETF, the multitasking, diversifying, flexible, and slightly vulnerable superhero of the investment world. And who knows, maybe one day, it will finally find time to walk into that bar. Because let's face it, after a long day of buzzing around the marketplace, even a superhero could use a drink. Or in the case of our busy bee ETF, a nice glass of nectar on the rocks.